and we got our electricity shut off. They didn't make house payments on time. My brother and my sister and I were affected by the decisions that they made when we had very little say in anything, when we were too young to have a job and couldn't help out. So pretty much we just relied on my grandparents that lived down the street from us. Luckily, we were on food assistance. I mean, we never went hungry because we had help, but I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have that.
So growing up, I was in a middle class family. Never really struggled with money or anything like that until I turned 18 and I had to start paying for everything on my own. And it's really hard to find a job that pays good. I've only worked minimum wage jobs and I can't work full time, so I'm not earning enough to pay for anything really. So the food stamps help me out a lot because otherwise I really wouldn't be able to buy food very much. And the Medicare has helped me out a lot because I've had several bills, and I'm on a lot of different types of medicine. And if I didn't have insurance or that medicine, I'd get really sick and be in the hospital.
So there are four major reasons why people experience poverty today. Individual reasons, community reasons, exploitation reasons, and structural reasons that take in public policies. So when we think about why people experience poverty, we can't look at someone and say, oh, that person must have done something wrong, because that's just not the case. There could be all kinds of other reasons going on in their life and in externally that would have caused them to be in poverty.
Medical issues caused me not to have a permanent job. Bad divorce, to the not understanding through medical reasons, and then getting evicted. That was really hard because I had nowhere to go. I have family outstate, but I've lived here long enough that friends supported me. So that was a good thing. Not having things that you're used to having was and still is hard. You know, I was able to go to the credit union, and I had a car, and I took care of myself. I paid my bills. You know, I had toiletries, food. So now it's a different thing, and at my age, it's real different.
First of all, in their community, there may not be ready grocery stores that are big box stores because they're not necessarily in the community where the people who live in a place that has concentrated poverty have. Their schools may not be as good as the schools in a suburban kind of setting where the tax base is much higher. Or there could be all kinds of other things. If someone's working at a minimum wage job, $7.25 an hour, 2 people in a family would have to work 155 hours a week in order to make it for a family of 4. So you think about what it must be like in a family that is experiencing poverty and they're working at a low-wage job. First of all, when do they get to see their family? When do they have some time to relax? When do they have some time to just enjoy not having to work? Because I've known people who have experienced poverty who have had to work 2 and 3 jobs trying to just make it for them and their families.
I have an internship, but I also go to school. I'm on food assistance myself. My parents are still on food assistance themselves too, and I can say that if it wasn't for the money that I receive on food assistance, I don't know what I would eat. I would eat ramen every day. And I mean, it's not like I'm eating steak every night either, but pizza. It's good to have a middle ground. We worked very hard on passing, definitely. I mean, we had a nice house, a house that we could not afford, a house that my parents were thousands and thousands of dollars in credit card debt getting. But we had nice clothes so that people had no idea, even though they were from Savers, they were Aeropostale, and if you looked at it, you wouldn't know it was secondhand, but.
I think it's very difficult to look at someone and say, oh, I think that person is living in poverty, or no, I don't think that person is experiencing poverty. Because on the outside, there may not be any kind of clue that someone is experiencing poverty until we get into a relationship with somebody.
I don't know if I would say that I felt different. Just because I was kind of optimistic that it was better than it actually was. My parents wouldn't talk about it in front of us, so it was always kind of like, oh, well, I heard mom and dad talking and they're scared about something, but we don't know what, and oh, mom's mad at dad because of something, he spent money on this and they don't have it. I feel as though they make it ridiculously hard to get on this type of assistance, and also there's a huge lack of awareness and education. If it wasn't for my parents telling me the ins and outs of how to apply, I don't know if I would have done it. I was so frustrated the first time I tried to do it myself. I said, I give up. And they were like, no, you deserve this. You need to go in, make an appointment with your social worker, case manager, they'll help you. And after 3 hours of waiting in the waiting room, but I saw people get up and leave. They had to go to work, they had to pick up their kids. They just got frustrated that they were waiting so long that they just gave up, and I don't blame them at all. My dad is sick, so he doesn't have a job and has been denied from disability 3 times. When I left my husband, who was abusive, I didn't have a job at the time, and I had 2 children. So I went on what was called AFDC back then, and I did not have enough money for the rent. I mean, the mortgage payment. So I started having different renters live with us, kind of like a housemate sort of situation. And some of those worked okay, and some of them did not. Some of them were a little scary.
I still am doing that kind of thing. I'm renting my garage and a little space in the basement for someone right now. So my children went home, and that's when I lost more money. So I needed more people renting.
In Minnesota, we have a legislative commission to end poverty, and they came up with 6 broad recommendations for how we could end poverty in Minnesota by 2020. One of those ways of bringing people out of poverty has to do with work, raising the minimum wage, helping people have child care assistance, making sure that their tax credits, like earned income tax credits, etc. Then there's also the way of helping people get out of poverty to make sure that there's a safety net, so that we want to streamline those public services to help people who are in poverty and streamline them so that they can move out of poverty. A third reason is helping Minnesotans gain assets and then maintain those assets, for instance, through microenterprise and some things like that. A fourth way to help people get out of poverty is through revitalizing communities, and that includes person-to-person support, but it also includes making sure that there's adequate housing, affordable housing, as well as transportation that can get people from where they live to where the jobs are. And then the fifth way of helping people move out of poverty is through education, to make sure that we have early childhood education in Minnesota, and to help people gain the education that they need in order to move out of poverty. Presentation in a small congregation, and it was an adult forum, but there were some children and some teenagers that had been invited into this forum. And so at the end of the hour with them, I said, do you think we can end poverty in Minnesota by 2020? And the whole group just sat silent until this 12-year-old boy spoke up, and he said, well, I don't think we can end poverty all at once in Minnesota, but he said, if we take things step by step, then I think we can end poverty. And everybody in the room just applauded this 12-year-old boy for saying what is such a sign of faith, but also a sign of optimism and hope.